Well, what is up, Cardinals Nation? I'm Brad, and I'm still actually waiting on Aaron right now. So while he's doing that, while he's getting ready to come in here, he got tied up a little bit. So while he's waiting to come in here, I wanted to talk to you guys about an idea that I have. I haven't actually run it past Aaron. And Aaron, if you'd have been in here on time and things would have worked out, I wouldn't have dropped this on your head right now. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to announce that the way my schedule's shaken up, I have Wednesday mornings off. And the way Facebook's algorithm works, it likes 2 live streams a week. So, if Aaron can be here for the Monday evening, which we're doing a Wednesday evening this stream because he had a problem making it. I don't remember what it was, but there was a reason he couldn't make it on Monday. We're planning on going live with the usual suspects on Monday evenings at 6:30 or 7 o'clock. We still have to work that out. But what I want to do is add a second show. It's still the usual suspects, but I want to call it Coffee and Cardinals. And so I'm looking at like a 9 a.m. just kind of short 15-30 minute stream where we discuss a little bit about what's going on, or I just ramble by myself with my rambling my head off, kind of like what I'm doing right now. I want to do that, so I'd love to have you guys join us. I think that would be super awesome. I think it would be fun. I think it'll feed the algorithm on Facebook, help our page get a little bit more exposure. And speaking of exposure, I do want to share with you guys, we are, in fact, live on 3 separate platforms right now. So if you're watching on Twitter, say hi. If you're watching on YouTube, say hi. And if you're watching on Facebook, say hi. As a matter of fact, comment, interact with us. We love to have your comments. We love to have your interactions. It really helps us move the show along. It gives us things that reminds us of things we want to talk about, introduces things that we hadn't thought about talking about that we could talk about. So you can find us by searching facebook.com slash, here, let me pull this up here. Our Facebook is facebook.com/mutual suspects. Go on over there, smash the like button, give the page a like. Last I checked, we were at like 700 likes. I don't have a banner for our YouTube page, but if you go to YouTube and you search the usual suspects, there'll be a couple of episodes of the podcast, some really early stuff that we did that we were just posting audio on the YouTube, and then you can find our page, subscribe to our channel, click that notification bell. That way you'll get notified anytime we go live. If everybody on Facebook would subscribe on YouTube, we'd have 700 subscribers on YouTube. But I think right now we're sitting at 18 or so. And then the magic number for YouTube is 1,000. So if you get 1,000, followers, and then I forget how many. I think it's like 44 hours of view time. You can do some pretty cool stuff with YouTube. So I'd appreciate it if you'd head on over there. And then there's those of you that can watch on Periscope. And our Periscope is up right now. Still trying to pull all this up. You can follow us on Twitter at @usual_suspects. You can give me a follow on Twitter at RangeBrad. Aaron just popped in. Awesome. And then you can follow Aaron on Twitter at AaronMSTL. So let me run through those real quick. This one's mine. I'll leave that up there for a little bit while I pull Aaron in. And what is up, everybody? Aaron? Then this is Aaron's. This is the usual suspects. And I wish we had something awesome. Like, I know a couple YouTube channels have the youtube.com/c/ and then the name of the channel, and that gives you the channel. But I don't think that works for ours. So I'm going to turn it over to Aaron for a little bit, and I'm going to send out some tweets and whatnot and see if we can't get our view count up. But I'm sure people who are follow us on Usual Suspects is watching live right now. So, Aaron, what's good?
I mean, with the Cardinals right now, not a whole lot.
Yeah, it's pretty rough, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not great.
Let's see if I can do this. No, that doesn't work. I'm trying to figure out how to make you the main person.
I've been trying to think about that for years.
There's that. Makes you small, but I should be able to. Solo layout.
There
There
we
we go. Figured it out. All right, Aaron, let them know what's up.
Anybody else actually like watch the game yesterday? Because like I had no desire to whatsoever, and I wasn't disappointed. That's kind of I guess one positive takeaway from their recent performance. I haven't actually had to watch it because it's just been bad. I mean, to be fair, at least with yesterday, going up against Bieber, I wasn't expecting them to do a whole lot. So, my expectations were already low, but 10-1 really like these last few games, I know they scored 7 runs in there. I guess was it their last game against the Reds when they lost or whatever it was, but for crying out loud, they're not doing anything. They're not scoring. Their pitching's been terrible. It's not a great recipe for winning games, boys.
No.
I don't know what to. There's not a whole lot of good to talk about. I mean, and then, to top it all off, more injuries. That was one of our big talking points last episode is like, oh man, the injury bug right now sucks. And then it's just like, oh, you thought it sucked before. We're going to make it worse. And it's like everyone talks about, it's like, oh, this is the moment. Like Mo has to make a choice. Like they have to go out and do something. And I'm like, they're missing more than like 1 or 2 pieces.
Yeah.
There's so many guys that are hurt right now that it's just like, no. Max Scherzer would be phenomenal. Him and another starter would also be phenomenal. There's so many things that they could do right now, but and I'm not going to be that guy that's like, oh yeah, all you need to do is get these guys back healthy, and it's like making a trade. No, it's not. It means you finally have those guys healthy again.
Right. I don't like that. Just get these guys healthy, and it's like you made a trade. It's like it kind of is, but that's only if your team was like the dumpster fire that it is beforehand for the whole year, right? Mm-hmm. So dropping down and then coming back up to where you were before isn't helping the team get better, even though the team is getting better from where it was when it was lower.
Yeah, I mean, right now it's like, honestly, like it couldn't be much worse. Because I tweeted out yesterday the standings over the last like from like a week and a half ago or something. Like, yeah, the Cardinals were only ahead by like half a game, but now they're in the middle of the division and they they've won like 1 game.
Yeah.
Over their last 8. And I'm like, this is really bad.
Yeah, they're one.
And then somebody commented and they're like, oh, Pittsburgh's going to keep being Pittsburgh. And I'm like, Pittsburgh has a better record than the Cardinals in that time.
Yeah. Yeah. That, as a matter of fact, what are they, 31-30 right now? So if they don't win tonight, then they'll be at 500 for the first time since
it wouldn't shock me in the slightest if that happens. It wouldn't shock me. Like, I don't know how many. Is it a 3-game series against?
No, just Cleveland? Last night and tonight.
I was about to say, because if it was a 3-game series, I'm like, it wouldn't shock me at all if we got swept and coming off of this series we're below 500.
Yeah,
be super cool.
They're off tomorrow, and then they do a 3-game against, and I forget who it is next week, or starting on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Yikes. So, yeah, like you were saying, this team is a lot farther away than 1 or 2 players. The thing that kind of surprises me a little bit, and I don't know if it should surprise me or not, but when you stop and think about it, yeah, they've had really, really bad luck with injuries. But, yeah, Patty said the Cubs is who they'll be playing. So they've had really bad injuries and whatnot, and a lot of them, right? It's kind of funny because the other day they had the 3-jersey mystery jersey giveaway night.
And every single player was on
Michaelis, DeYoung, and Flaherty. This is the injury pack. So
yeah. To be fair, I'd have been cool with. Like, I really wanted to go to one of the games in that series, but, like, due to work and I had a disc golf tournament, I was like, it wasn't going to be able to happen, but I was like, I would have been fine with either of those jerseys.
Yeah.
But, yeah, they're all hurt.
Yeah. Now the good news is DeYoung is on the mend. He's starting a rehab assignment, and then after his rehab assignment, I think he's going to come back here for an evaluation, and they'll probably get him in the lineup as quick as possible.
Yeah, I mean
The
that'd be
bad
nice,
news.
but I mean,
The
even
bad news
still,
is
there's more
is
that we need.
the bad news is that his replacement has been better than he had been. Edmundo Sosa is probably the best replacement we've had for one of those injured players.
Yeah, I mean that's something else too. Like this whole thing is, giving us an opportunity to see kind of like what the Cardinals' depth looks like. But really, outside of him, it's been really bad.
Yeah. Well, you talked about the outfield depth, right? You would think with having who are we looking at? We were looking at having a starting outfield basically of O'Neill in left, Carlson in right, and then Bader in center, and that was going to be your starting outfield. And then you were going to have this problem of having, we had an Austin Dean who might be a good fourth outfielder. You had Lane Thomas, and then you had Justin Williams, and who were you going to put in there? Well, Justin Williams hurt his neck. Austin Dean has not done much, and Lane Thomas has absolutely disappeared. So you're back to this having Tommy Edman, who's your best your best middle infielder, playing right field.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, they're kind of in a bad spot when you consider that. And so what I see happening is whenever DeYoung comes back, DeYoung will slide right back into shortstop. And then I imagine, because you can't lose Edmundo Sosa because he's played well, given the circumstances, I imagine that he will slide over to second base and he'll play some second base, and then they'll keep Edman in right field until Bader gets back, and then Bader will then slot back into center field. Edman will go back to second base, and Edmundo Sosa will have to
get the bench.
So I worry about that because we're not even treading water. We're falling behind, right? We're playing poorly. We're not playing.
Yeah, it'd be one thing if we were like playing 500 ball. Like, our record says we're playing 500 ball, but that's over the course of 60 games. If you look at our last 10, we're like 2-8. That's like really bad,
right?
And there really hasn't been, honestly, over that time, there really hasn't been any bright spots. It's just been like kind of trash.
Right.
And I mean that in the nicest way possible. But like, especially these last few games, it's like I've legitimately seen nothing that I'm excited about. Like every time I watch it, I'm like, this is not good.
Right.
Carlos, I saw somebody tweet about this. I don't remember the exact stats, but Carlos tosses 6 innings without allowing a hit, and since then he's given up like 16 hits and like 13 runs in 3 2/3 innings. I'm like, it's like really bad. His ERA is over 6 now.
Yeah.
And he had like 3 or 4 starts in a row where it kind of looked like he was turning it around. You're like, okay, this is the Carlos that we want to see. And then all of a sudden it's just like, well, there goes that.
Right.
Like there's nobody in the rotation right now that I'm excited about. Like Waino has at least given you innings.
Right.
And he's had a few solid starts, but like outside of that, it's been injuries and inconsistency. And I'm like, well, this sucks.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, losing Jack Flaherty was huge, but you got to kind of almost wonder if that was more of a mental blow than anything, right? Because let's say Jack Flaherty just pitches a perfect season, which he wasn't on pace to. He got thumped up down in L.A. and he had lost one other one prior to that, or was that his first loss?
He's still 8-1.
Okay, so that was his first loss. So he wasn't going to throw a perfect season. But imagine that he wins every game that he pitches. He only pitches every fifth game.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a little bit less than that because sometimes they throw in Oviedo for a spot start, right? So you still needed your other pitchers to step up. Wainwright can give you a chance to win. I think every time he takes the mound, you've got a chance. But as he gets older, you have to worry about that consistency issue. Is he going to be as consistent? I think last game, his last start, the first 2 innings, it took him 50 pitches to get through it, and it was a little rough. But then his last 5, he threw 50. He completed 5 pitches, 5 innings and 55 pitches. So
yeah,
it's just he's kind of your anchor right now, you know. But I think when I say that I think that the Flaherty injury was a bigger mental blow, when he went down, that's about the time you saw the fundamentals, right? The mental errors start happening. Bad base running, not knowing where to go with the ball whenever that happens. So you add that all to what Phil was talking about here with the walks allowed, hit batters, and the lack of timely hitting. In that Red Series, they had the winning run at the plate or on base every game, and they couldn't do anything with it. They had the winning run on base for the Red Series. They had the winning run on base with no outs, and it was at second base. And they couldn't push them across.
In that last game, they got runners on like second and third with no out.
Right.
And down by one. It's like,
you had your tying run at third, and you had your winning run at second base. And the thing is, and this might just be like an example of where baseball's going now. Everybody is trying to be the hero, right? So, like, to me, as a manager, your approach, if you're Tyler O'Neill, is get Paul Goldschmidt home. That's it. There's no other anything with it. You're not trying to hit a home run. You're not trying to double. You're not trying to single to score Arenado. You're trying to get Paul Goldschmidt across the plate, right? So you get him across the plate, then you can worry about winning the game, because what's going to end up happening is Arenado is still going to be in scoring position. But rather than do that, you know, the players today generally just go up and they take their daddy hacks every time, right? There's no such thing as a 2-out swing anymore. There's no such thing as a productive out anymore. Everything's about launch angle velocity, hit the ball hard, and hope for the best. And that works sometimes, but other times it doesn't. And I think that the Cardinals, for sure, but Major League Baseball in general, has gotten away from that approach, right? If you follow everybody on Twitter, there's even a whole team #NeverBunt. Well, no, you can't be never bunt, because sometimes the bunt works. It's worked for 100 years since baseball's been around, and now all of a sudden in these past 5-10 years, we're like, we're too smart for that. We're not going to bunt anymore. There's a time when bunting works. Like, for example, now you start extra innings and you start with a runner on second. If by some way you're the home team and you hold that the visiting team to not scoring, that runner, you know, you strand them out there, you get out of the inning, nothing scored. Bunt that guy to third base and hit a sacrifice fly. Easy win, right? There is a time and a place for all of that. I cannot stand this mindset of, like, and especially, like, I saw a tweet the other day referring to these old hats. I cannot stand the mindset of people that are just going to throw stuff away because we're young and we're smarter now. We're not always smarter, you know. Sometimes you have to listen to the old conventional wisdom, because it is just that, wisdom. And we just don't have that right now in baseball. And speaking of wisdom, have you been seeing what Patrick Wisdom's been doing?
Oh, yeah, it's hilarious.
Why?
Because, like, there's going to be all these Cardinals fans going, dude, what did we get rid of him for?
No.
Like, all this crap. Like, it's just another one of those players that was able to find success elsewhere. And it doesn't help that he's doing it, you know, for the Cubs, but...
Right.
Like, at what point during his career with the Cardinals, major league or minor league experience, did he give you the indication that this was going to be a thing?
Well, let me ask you...
The answer is he did not.
Let me ask you this question. Would you rather have your starting third base and starting first baseman be Luke Voit and Patrick Wisdom, or Paul Goldschmidt and Nolan Arenado?
Like, that's not a question.
Right?
Like...
But that's what everybody wants. Those that are kind of upset about those trades.
Yeah.
Or not even a trade in Wisdom's case. There's something he figured out. Maybe he's just hot, you know, but again, give me Nolan Arenado. Patrick Wisdom, more respect and all power to you, but I'm still going to take Nolan Arenado over that.
Right. Like, and the people who are like, well, I would go with Wisdom, they're stupid. And I mean that in the nicest way possible, but no.
It's not logical thinking, it's emotional thinking, right? You're thinking with your heart, well, that guy's hot right now, and that's what we need is a hot hitter.
You're not wrong. However,
Yeah, exactly, Phil. A proven player, a track record, right? Because what happens whenever he burns out? Not that that's even going to be the case. So I'm just going to be happy for Patrick Wisdom for all the success he has and when he has it and while he's having
like
it, and good for
that's all
him.
you can do for like all these players. Like, yeah, it kind of sucked watching Randy Rosarina do what he did in the postseason, nonetheless, for a team when we just traded him away. Granted, we got a very good prospect out of it, who we haven't seen in the big leagues yet. Let's dial it back until we see what this guy can do in honestly maybe in the next year or two.
Well, if at the rate things are going, right?
It's possible you see him right now. Like, I mean, I wouldn't.
He's in AAA right now, right?
Well, right now he's training for like Team USA.
He's pitched for Team USA, but he was at the AAA level before he went over there.
I think so.
So, and we'll see if the Olympics happen or not. But he pitched well in his start for.
Like, he hasn't pitched great in AAA thus far, but
well, he's young, right? I mean,
like,
him and Nolan Gorman are contemporaries, and Nolan Gorman's still in AA.
Yeah.
So it tells me that they're trying to fast track him and try to get him ready, because when you look at who you have for sure next year as your starting pitcher, what do you got? Jack Flaherty?
Flaherty and Michaelis.
And that's it?
Yeah, because
like, you don't
Carlos, know at this rate, they're not picking up his option.
No.
Like,
I mean, he has a...
You don't. Like, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever for them to pick up his option unless he's willing to restructure it, because he's been really bad.
Right. And now he has a whole second half of baseball to like turn things around and stuff like that.
I mean, sure, but like just to get back to
that
anywhere near a respectable level, he's going to have to pitch like out of his mind the second half.
He's going to have to pitch like Flaherty did in that second half of that season whenever he busted.
Yeah. Now, to be fair, that'd be really cool to see. I'd be super into it, but I don't see that happening.
I think he's got shoulder issues still, because he's still got all that gunk on his arm. You can see it through his jersey. For those of you wondering why Carlos Martinez's white jersey looks yellow on his right shoulder, that's all like the Tiger Balm and magic stuff that they put all over his shoulder before he goes to pitch. So Wainwright could very well retire. Wainwright could come back for one more. I don't know.
I think it kind of comes down to how the season goes for him.
Yeah, and then you got to look at Miles Michaelis even.
I mean, they're saying what? It's possible that he comes back, like, best case scenario in August. I'm like, why does this keep happening?
Yeah. So you don't even so he's under contract, but you don't even know what you're going to have with him when he comes back, or when that's going to be.
Like, you have a fairly basic idea. Like, he's not going to walk guys. He'll probably give you innings.
Right.
But maybe close to a 4 ERA, I think. Like, as much as I want to think that he's going to pitch how he did his first year in St. Louis, like a 2.7-ish, maybe not so much, but I mean, he's going to be kind of like your solid, like, 3-4 guy, maybe.
Yeah.
But right now, we're looking at what this team has. He's kind of going into next year as number 2, and if he's your number 2, that's kind of it's a little frightening.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what their options are. I honestly have no idea what the free agent pool looks like as far as starting pitchers go for next season. Yeah, I've seen some names mentioned this year for the trade market. I'm assuming most of, if not all of those guys are rentals. So, it's not even necessarily true that they're going to stick around past this season.
Yeah.
I love the idea of going after Scherzer. I really do, especially with him being a hometown guy. It wouldn't shock me if they're able to make something happen and keep him around for like the last couple of years of his career. It's going to cost them a ton of money, but it's not like they don't have it.
Right. I think that's a good move, though, too, because you get that veteran presence in there that you might be missing with Wainwright, and you get that he's got a different mentality, right? Max Scherzer is a fighter and a bulldog, and he's a killer, right? He's got the killer instinct when he goes out there. So I think you get that with him, and that then can be passed on to the other guys. Now, it might be that the front office and Mozeliak are wanting to take this team in a younger direction, right?
I mean, it's possible. I mean,
but you want to
yeah,
keep
but I
Nolan
mean,
Arenado
coming into
around,
young
right?
guys, especially rotation-wise, because we've been kind of talking about pitching, just because it seems like at least lately that's been such a like a struggling point. Like, yeah, you've got Liberatore coming up. Are there really that many younger guys that you're like, oh yeah, I'd love to see them in the rotation? Like Oviedo has shown some glimpses, but like
Yeah,
I'm not looking at him going like, yeah, he's in your starting rotation next year.
well, if he's in your starting rotation, though, he's not going to be in your starting rotation as a 2, 3, or 4 guy, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I've got a name that I'll throw out there only because it would be pointless not to. Where's Alex Reyes next year?
Where's he this year?
Like, do you keep him in the bullpen? Like, because he's pitched well so far in his time in the bullpen this year, but long term, is that his role? Like, I think it still makes a lot of sense for them to stretch him out and make him a starter. That's how he came up through their system. That's what they always viewed him as.
Right.
This year, they're like, well, he's healthy, but we don't want to overwork him, so we're going to put him in the bullpen. That's fine.
Yeah.
But like where do the Cardinals see him moving forward? Where do we see him moving forward?
I mean, let's be
That's
honest.
a guy that could be interesting because just looking at his talent level, he could be a number 1, number 2 guy starter. But is he going to be able to stay healthy and give you the innings?
You know, and let's be honest, that's something that I like. You know, you've got to figure out what you're going to do with Reyes. Gallegos is always going to be. So Phil said, when do the Cardinals look at making Reyes a starter? As much as I'd love to see him in the rotation and then start working toward that this year, they don't have the bullpen to do that, right? You know, because
Their bullpen right now sucks.
He's not going to have longevity, right? So you're going to still need that guy that can fill it. So you're going to get Reyes to start for maybe 3 innings for a while, and then you're going to have to bring in a Ponce de Leon, then your Helsleys, and all that, and then that's going to have to build up. So if you had a good long reliever, I think you can start stretching Reyes out and get him into the starting rotation. But they've also already pretty much said that they kind of want to limit his innings this year.
Mm-hmm.
And so giving him 1 inning at the back end of the game is going to make him available the rest of the season, whereas putting him in as a starter, once he hits that limit, you know, you don't have Alex Reyes anymore.
Yeah.
So the other interesting name, and Phil brought this up here too, is Dakota Hudson. Dakota Hudson should be back next year.
Yeah. That's someone that,
provided everything goes well with.
as long as his rehab goes smoothly over the off season.
Yeah,
you would expect him to be there. Our defense isn't necessarily as strong as it was whenever he was pitching for us, but I mean he certainly provides value. I mean, I don't remember exactly what his numbers looked like, but he seemed like, if I remember correctly, he was a guy that gave up a lot of base runners also, whether it be walks or hits. And right now we need guys that are efficient, which is why, like I said last time, Michaelis getting hurt again sucks because the Cardinals this year just constantly are walking guys, guys, hitting guys, and he never did that. It was something that
he didn't do that in the 4 innings that he came back. He walked 1 guy, and it was in the 4th inning, right before he came out of the game.
Yeah,
which it might have been.
That's not a thing that he does. Like, I wish we had more guys in our staff that pitch like that, but they don't, which sucks. Like, I really wish that Gant could learn to like quit walking guys, because I feel like he could be a good like kind of back into the rotation guy. And if you look at his ERA, it's phenomenal. But when you look at like a lot of the underlying stats, you're like, oh dear God, he's going to implode. And I'm pretty sure last time out he kind of did. But
right,
like the amount of walks he gives up is like staggering. But that's a guy that I wish could, maybe figure it out just a little bit, because I think he could be a fairly decent starter.
mm-hmm.
But I'm more afraid that like his last outing is more of like what's to come, because like it was like there's no way that this is sustainable. And that's for a while. That's how I felt about Reyes in the bullpen too, because like the amount of walks that he gave up was ridiculous. Everyone's like, he's only got like a .6 ERA. He's been a stud. He's striking a lot of dudes out. I'm like, yeah, he's also walking like 8 guys per 9. That's really bad.
Yeah.
Like, he's not allowing hits, which is great. But the moment he does, he's giving up runs because he already walked the dude before.
Because he put too many guys on. So what do you think the problem is? What do you think the Cardinals' control issue is? I've got an interesting theory, but I kind of want to hear what you're thinking on this.
I don't know. Like nobody in there, like nobody wants to attack the hitters. They're always like, they're trying to pinch the corners, and they're not hitting it. And no one's swinging, and so it's getting taken. And because it's getting taken for a ball. And they're like, oh, well, that one didn't work. I'll just do it again.
Yeah.
And that one's ball 2. And then they start giving up runs because all of a sudden they're down in counts, and then they have to throw one right down the middle. And then they wonder why that one gets hit. I'm like, well, bud, I could hit that one. Maybe not every time. But if you throw one right down the middle, I'll eventually make contact.
Yeah. You'll run into one.
And these guys are professional hitters.
Right. I saw an interesting article specifically referencing Ryan Housley and why he was having trouble this year, because by every available metric, he should be a very good pitcher.
Yeah.
And it had to do with his pitch location and where he's throwing his fastball. And that's why that causes issues. He should have a swing and miss fastball, but instead he has a swing and get a very hard hit ball fastball. I forget where he was in the hard hit rate and stuff like that, but he was like top part of the league with that. So one of the things, and this is my interesting theory, is do you remember what they were talking about with the baseball? Was that 2 years ago when it was flying out of the stadium at a crazy rate?
Mm-hmm.
And they were talking about how the ball was smoother and thus it flew through the air better.
Yeah.
So this year, and I don't know if they did it last year as well, I always take 2020 and I just kind of set it aside in its own little bucket, and it happens in a vacuum, because that was 2020 was weird. Let's say it. 2020 sucked and it was weird. So what I heard, and I read this today and I forget where I read it, but the baseball this year has more seams. The seams are raised a little bit higher, so the ball's not as smooth. And when you look at the Cardinals pitching, so what do seams on a baseball do? They create the movement, right? That's why the spin makes it. So you're going to have more rise on a fastball. If you got a good spin rate, you're going to have more break on a breaking ball. One of the things about the Cardinals pitchers, especially their bullpen guys, is they threw hard, and what did the ball do? It moved, right? So you've got these guys who have been throwing hard with movement, and then you've taken and given them a baseball that can add extra movement to it, right? So that pinpoint control isn't there anymore, because the ball moves more.
Most of these guys had pinpoint control, but like, I know what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying? So like pitches that you could usually throw that you could get away with, are going to move more.
You could you knew what your pitches did, and so you're like, okay, I can throw it here and expect about this much movement, and I should still, clip the zone. Whereas now, it's maybe a little bit more difficult to have that control.
Right, and the more irregular that ball is, the more irregular that movement is. So sometimes it breaks 3 inches, sometimes it breaks 5 inches, right? And and guys, that could explain why Ryan Helsley's having control issues. Now that would go along with he needs to throw the ball because he's got a good fastball, and to make it a swing and miss fastball, he needs to elevate that fastball a little more. He's throwing it in the middle, low and in the middle. That doesn't generate swing and misses on fastballs. Low pitches are for breaking balls. Fastballs you throw up, and then especially with his spin rate, you get that rise. So that's something maybe, I don't know. I'm just searching for anything. St. Louis Cup of Joe would be a great person to have on in the show just to talk about what he sees going on there, because he's great at analyzing pitches. So, Joe, if you're out there and you want to be on The Usual Suspects, hit me up. My DMs are open. I would love to have you on. You can DM Aaron too, because he'll talk too. So anyway, we'd love to have you on.
I'm not on there as much, but I'm around.
Yeah. Yeah, you're more likely to get a hold of me. So one, they've got to figure out their control issues. So you think of baseball, and this is the way I think of baseball. You think of it in three parts, right? You think about your starting pitching, your bullpen, and your offense. I guess you could say four if you want to say your defense. The Cardinals' defense hasn't been terrible, but it hasn't been as good as it could be, right?
No, and it doesn't help when you've got Bader, who's out, and that's a huge part of your outfield defense. Like the amount of range he has, the amount of ground he covers, he makes a difference in the outfield.
Right.
Having Tyler O'Neill out there is nice. He's also a very good fielder, especially when you look at his metrics. He's a very good fielder. There's a reason why he won a Gold Glove. It makes sense. But then Carlson's been kind of okay, and then you've got Edman, who has kind of replaced Wong at second base, he's been really good at second base. He's a good defender, and you got him playing right field.
Yeah,
but
that's because you don't have the offensive production from a guy like Lane Thomas, right? If Lane Thomas or Justin Williams would step up, they could run away with that thing.
Man, and we've mentioned this before. I've seen some really cool things from Williams.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so few and far between that it's I don't even know if I believe it. Whenever I see him hit just an absolute rocket, 110 miles an hour off the bat, I'm like, dude, this is crazy. And then he goes 0 for 12 with 6 strikeouts. I'm like,
yeah,
I don't know what we're doing.
I think to me that tells me that his issues are more of a mindset issue, right? You see it in younger guys all the time, right? A home run will ruin a swing.
Yeah.
And he that last home run that he hit in LA was a monster, right? It was just a laser that about knocked the pole over. But
yeah, it's crazy.
But then he hasn't. Well, I don't know if he's played since then. But his subsequent at bats after that weren't great.
No.
And there was a kid I played high school ball with. He hit a ball, and it was an absolute bomb. And it went just foul. And he struck out his next 5 at bats because he was trying to hit that absolute bomb again, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so and you wouldn't think that about a major league player, but they're people too, so they do.
I'd say you get I definitely agree with you, because it's almost like the worst thing that could have happened was you finding out that you have the ability to do that.
Yep.
You're like, yo, I can. Did you see that? Did you see me do that? All I had to do was hit it a few feet fair. This is crazy. I just hit an absolute rocket. I'm gonna do it again.
Yeah.
Eventually, maybe
the
not.
The hardest way to hit a home run is to try to hit a home run.
Yeah.
So I noticed in the chat that they're talking about what are some bright spots. Tyler O'Neill's been a bright spot, as one of the mentions.
Coming off the IL, he's been really good.
Yeah. Wainwright has done well, but he doesn't get run support. And
my lord, yeah, it's so bad.
And then
his run support is one of the worst, if not currently the worst in Major League Baseball.
It's pretty bad. And then the last one there, the last one mentioned was opposing team. Here it is. Opposing teams aren't able to successfully steal bases off of Yadi. Unfortunately, Yadi isn't playing right now because he's hurt. He's not on the IL
tonight.
Is he? I was just looking at the lineup.
I think
He's
he's in
not
the
on the
lineup.
IL, but no, now it's game day.
I don't know. I thought I saw that he was in the lineup.
I can't see the Cardinals lineup right now. I can only see well, whatever. I can only see the Indians because the game has actually started.
Yeah.
But anyway, I can't remember if he was starting or not. But anyway, he's been out. So hopefully he's back. He's doing better. So those are some positive things. It looks like Arenado's warming up, according to Patty. So 2 games in a row where he was 3 for 4, wasn't it? And yeah. So anyway, what we're seeing here is some bright spots, but man, those are the guys that you kind of expect to perform, right? You expect Wainwright to be good. Not great, but good. You expect Yachty to be good. They've expected Tyler O'Neill to be good for a long time. So he's finally doing it. And then you know. So, and you've got to rely on Arenado. You've got to, because he's supposed to be the centerpiece, right? The keystone of this offense.
I mean, and for the most part, he's been, as advertised.
Hey, Ron. So you going to hang out with us then if you're not going to watch the game? Or are you not going to spend your time watching us? Anyway, so you've got to look at that. I forget where I was. Anyway, so what do they need to do to fix what they're doing? To me, so I getting back, you've got 4 different areas, right? You've got offense, defense, starting pitching, and bullpen. The bullpen can't throw strikes. That's their biggest issue.
Oh, it's so bad.
That's their biggest issue.
Mind-boggling, really.
To me, the starting pitching's biggest issue is injury. That's their biggest issue. If you had Flaherty and Michaelis back, so you'd have Flaherty, Michaelis, and Wainwright, who would be very consistent, and then you can live with your C-Mart, KK, or Gant. Hey, Russ. You can live with those guys in your starting rotation, whichever way you want to do it, or even if you wanted to throw Oviedo in there. You can live with that. The offense, I have no idea. It's an absolute enigma, because sometimes they look like a juggernaut. They look absolutely unstoppable, and then other times they look...
If they score more than 10 runs in a game, I just chalk the next day up as a loss. Because they're going to score 2, and they're not going to know how to play.
Right.
Like tonight, I'm super worried because they're facing off against some guy that I have no idea who he is.
He is... what was his name? Something... Mejia is his last name. I forget his first name. He had 2 first names. But anyway, he has made 1 start. He went 3 innings, so they're trying to stretch him back out. He didn't give up a run in those 3 innings, and he was coming out of the bullpen, and his ERA is still at 0. So he's pretty good, but he's not long. He doesn't have a longevity, so that might help him. They might get into a bullpen. I don't know much about Cleveland's bullpen to know if they're good or bad or whatever. Yeah, there it is, Giancarlos. So anyway, so their offense, I don't know what is up with that. I mean, I wish I could look at them and say, you guys are all, this is what they're doing, but it's everybody's doing it at the same time. So to me, it almost seems like it's an adjustment thing, right? So they start doing well. The opposing team's like, all right, this is what they're doing well, so this is what our game plan is going to be to counter that. The game plan that the other team throws out there is really effective. Other teams see that. They initialize that game plan. And it seems to me almost like the Cardinals hitting staff, right? Their hitting coaches are slow to identify what it is that other teams are doing that is causing them to have success. Because that's the only reason I can figure why a guy like Paul Goldschmidt would look lost at the plate, or
right.
You expect being lost at the plate from a from a younger guy, right? You'd expect Justin Williams to have his loss at the plates, even maybe Harrison Bader from time to time, and Tyler O'Neill. You'd expect that. But whenever they all look lost at the plate, that to me tells me it's an approach thing. It's a strategy thing that the pitching coaches haven't quite nailed down or haven't figured out, right? Because apparently, like, Tony Gwynn is famous for saying, I never guessed pitches. I saw the ball and I hit the ball. Tony Gwynn had a ton of success doing that. Most hitters can't. And so there's an element of guessing. And why not, right? If you have an idea of what the other team, the opponent, is going to do to get you out, why not use that information to your advantage? Look for certain things. But it seems like the Cardinals are looking for one thing and pitchers are giving them something else, and that will make you look foolish. And so I don't know. To me, that seems like a coaching issue with the inconsistency of the offense.
Like, if I've said this once, I've said it a million times. It infuriates me to no end when you've got a guy at the plate and they walk strikes.
Yep.
Like, I don't care. There's nothing you can do that's going to make me go, okay, well, I guess that makes sense. No. If it's a strike, swing the bat. Because getting behind in the count puts you at a disadvantage. It's like statistically proven.
Yeah.
Stop doing that.
Yeah.
Like, if it looks like a strike, for the love of God, swing.
Right. And I
hate it. The amount of part of me wants to sit down and actually like break down a game and just see how many times a strike is thrown and they just sit there, and then break it down by pitch. Because if you see a fastball that comes in for a strike, I'm going to hit you.
Yeah.
Like, what are you waiting for?
Like, to me, I think the wisdom or the thinking behind that is that you want to run the pitcher's pitch count up, right? You want to make him work.
Well,
fair enough.
You know what gets them out even quicker? Scoring runs.
Right. So it's a double-edged sword, right? Because if you do make that hit, if you do get a base hit, well, then he's going to have to throw more pitches to get more outs. But if you go up there and you swing at the first pitch, which is a fastball, and then you ground out to the third baseman or whatever, and they get you out, that's a one-pitch out, which is a win for the pitcher. And so I see why coaches don't want you to do that. Take a pitch, look at one, you know. My only advice for taking a pitch for a hitter would be if that pitcher's having trouble with control. It seems like it's something that starts whenever you're little, when pitchers do have control, and they've just stuck with it.
I mean, that's fine. If a pitcher has issue with control, take as many pitches as you want, because they're probably not going to hit the zone. But my issue is that you shouldn't be looking for something. You should be looking for a strike. Like,
you're there to hit.
Like, stop looking for like certain pitches. Like, oh, I'll only swing at it if it's a fastball. Like, no. Guess what? If he drops a curveball in there, but it's like center cut, and you just sit and watch because you were looking fastball, you look stupid, because that's like a perfectly hittable pitch that you just let go, and now you're behind.
Hey, here's another thing I want to point out to you, and I want to see if you noticed what caused Nolan Arenado to start making better contact.
He's pulling the ball like crazy.
Well, he was, but what did he do in that game against the Reds when he went 3 for 4?
Oh, I have no idea. Like, I did not watch.
He just threw his bat at the ball and dumped it into right field, right? It wasn't like a smoked ball. It was just a half swing that over the second baseman's head, over the first baseman's head, and into right field. And he did that 2 times, 3 times, right? He saw that what he was doing wasn't working. He slowed his swing down, made a contact swing, and just tried to put the ball into the grass instead of over the fence or hit it hard. Because a line drive that falls in front of an outfielder counts the same as a bloop hit that falls behind an infielder. It's still one base, and you're still on base, right? They all look the same on paper. And as a matter of fact, if you're only going to get to first base, it looks the same on the field, except for it's not as exciting to watch.
Yeah.
But when you start doing that, you start making contact, you start seeing the ball better, and you start getting more comfortable, and then you start getting more comfortable, and then you start roping the ball, right? It seems to me that a lot of players are still really focused on trying to hit the ball really hard, and that makes it really easy to miss. So anyway, just something to keep in mind whenever you're looking at the Cardinals offense. So the pitchers, how do you fix the bullpen? Throw strikes. throw strikes. Genesis Cabrera, Ryan Helsley, Alex Reyes, Giovanni Gallegos. All those guys have really good stuff. Trust your stuff to get the out.
Yeah.
Starting pitching, get healthy. I don't know what
Yeah.
there's not a whole lot you can do with that, right? The guys that you're having to rely on right now weren't the guys you were expecting to have to rely on.
Trade for like 4 guys and then you're set.
Yeah. Yeah. There'd have to be so much done in the market, And I don't know when the deadline is for starting the clock on Libator. But if you could get him in there for a couple starts, just let him have some starts. You don't have to expose him. You don't have to do any of this. Just help your guys a little bit. That'd be awesome.
I mean, I guess at least in the trade market, there are options out there for guys that are on really bad teams.
And here's the other thing, and I know that people have already tweeted at him and stuff like that. Tui Valala is coming along.
Oh my gosh, dude!
And he's a free agent.
I
mean, if he can get medically cleared,
so much,
just bring him back. Why not? 1 year, we'll sign you for the rest of this year. You can go go for big after this one. We need help now.
Like, I understand that he's coming off of a surgery, and but do you not realize he was a really solid reliever during his time in the big leagues? He had a 3.6 ERA for St. Louis, which is very respectable. And then his last season in the bigs, he played for Seattle and had a 2.3 ERA. Hey, that's really good. And then he didn't pitch last year because of, recovering from injury. If he's healthy, what's the problem? He's still fairly young.
Yeah. And
we have this really cool thing called lack of depth.
Yep. Seriously, you've got the spot. You DFA'd Tyler Webb, Yeah,
and bring back Miller.
And I said this on the Cardinals Nation podcast when they had me on. The lefty specialist is dead. You have a 3-batter minimum. So what you need is a pitcher who can get lefties and righties out.
Mm-hmm.
And if he can get lefties and righties out,
then there you go.
And as a matter of fact, as a righty, you're more likely to face more right-handed hitters than you are left-handed hitters. So to have a lefty who can also get righties out, to me, seems a little bit less valuable than having a righty who can get lefties out. Does that make sense? Does that make sense to you guys in chat? Give me a yeah if it does.
So I've had a lot of people reach out to me on John Brebbia lately.
Okay.
Is he pitching?
I don't know.
Because I know he's with San Francisco, and people have been bringing him up. If he's pitching games right now, what did we give up for him? What did we get in return for him exactly? Oh, nothing. We DFA'd him, or we didn't even DFA him. We just released him. Do you know how stupid that is? Do you know why? Look at what he did for St. Louis as a reliever. He was really good, and look at what our bullpen is currently doing. Yeah, I know hindsight is 2020, but you can go back to my tweets from when that happened, and I was pissed. It didn't make sense. It didn't make sense then. It doesn't make sense now. I hate it so much. It is irritating. And so if he's currently pitching, if he's already made it back from his recovery, I'm gonna be so mad, because that was someone we could have very, very, very much used.
Sorry, I had to step away for a second. I just caught this something we could very much use. So were you still talking about Brebbia?
A little bit.
Yeah. So I haven't heard what Brebbia is up to, if he's pitching or what he's doing. So I couldn't tell you.
Hi, boo.
So anyway, what do we got here? We got about 6 minutes left before it's an hour. So what I would like to do, Russ says it doesn't look like he is.
Okay. I don't know why, because I had a couple different people reach out to me about him at the same time. So I was like, all right, is there something going on that I don't know? Is he actually doing something? Because if so, I'm going to be really upset. Hi, boo. What you doing?
Ugh. And we're just in the first, aren't we?
Oh dear God, what's the score?
2-0.
Oh, fantastic.
It still says no, 2-0.
No, great.
Rosario doubled, Ramirez sack fly. So Hernandez doubled, Rosario singled. Ahmed Rosario. There's two Rosarios.
Oh,
Ahmed
nice.
Rosario singled. Then Jose Ramirez lined out to right, and then Eddie Rosario doubled, and Harold Ramirez sent him home, and then Naylor's up. So, anyway, 2 runs on 3 hits.
Nice. Who's pitching? Wayno?
Wainwright.
Nay.
Yeah.
This
So,
bodes well.
and it's 2-2 in the top of the first with 2 outs. So, he could get out of this.
But like, will he?
Yeah. Yeah. So, Aaron, I don't know if you caught the beginning or if you were able to hear the beginning at all. So, and I don't know how many people were on here. One of the things I'm going to do is my schedule has opened up on Wednesday mornings, and I was talking to some Facebook experts, and one of the things they were telling me, this person was telling me about the algorithm, is the algorithm likes 2 streams a week, right? So I know that you've got a busy schedule, so one of the things I wanted to do, and the stream should be at least 15 minutes long. So one of the things I want to do is on Wednesday mornings about 9 a.m. I want to do something I call Cardinals and Coffee, or Coffee and Cardinals, one of those two. It'll be on all of our platforms. We'll go live. I'll go live on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, and I'll do a short little 15, 30-minute little podcast in the morning about 9 a.m. on Wednesdays. If you can pop in, great. If you're busy, that's fine. If you want to jump in the chat, that's fine. My plan is to roll that solo just to start feeding the algorithm and get it to grow. Cool. And so I'm going to start doing that. So that's for all of you watching. I want to invite you to join me for Cardinals and Coffee, so that we can start growing the channel. If you're watching on Facebook, and it looks like the vast majority of you watching right now are on Facebook, if you want to go over to our YouTube page, let's see if I can pull it up and paste it in the chat. If you want to go over to our YouTube page and watch the stream over there, or at least subscribe to the channel, that would be awesome. This is the stream right here. Copy. Paste. Chat. If you want to go over to the YouTube channel and hit subscribe, if we could get everybody that likes the Usual Suspects page, said the Periscope didn't get it, but that's all right. If you want to, if we get everybody to like the page and then to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and then we get, I think, 40 hours of view time or something like that, might be 44 hours or 44. Is it 4,400? I don't know. You get so much view time, and then you get over 1,000 subscribers, then you can actually do a lot more fun stuff, and we can do things like super chats and all that other fun stuff. So if you guys are watching right now and you'd like to jump over to our YouTube page, which we've gone live on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube all simultaneously, and you can tell now too up in the upper right hand corner for you guys. We've got our Usual Suspects logo. I was able to change the background. We have got StreamYard up and running and looking good. So we're glad that you guys are here. We're happy to have you here. Aaron, do you have anything else you want to add?
Nothing in particular. I mean, just in that same vein, like the Facebook page, follow us on Twitter. Follow Brad and I individually on Twitter.
This is me.
So you're not going to find me much on Facebook, at all. I stopped getting into the Facebook arguments because, frankly, I don't have that kind of time or patience anymore.
Yeah. And I'm only on Facebook from noon to 3 on weekdays. So
there you go.
It's a good thing that the softball chat for our co-ed team puts that up there. Awesome. Thank you for subscribing. Hey, be like Phil. And Phil did it because he enjoys the content, not just because he's Aaron's dad.
I mean,
Maybe a little bit of both.
Split the difference.
Yeah. So, guys, we're super excited that you watched us. It's good to be back on the airwaves again, on the interwebs again. It's cool to be able to spread out and branch out. Make sure, I think, starting next Wednesday, right? Yeah, starting next Wednesday, catch us on, or catch me at for Cardinals and Coffee. It won't be long. It's something you can look at while you're at work, or just even turn your phone on and listen to while you're doing your job. And I'll have some interesting something or other. It might be up to date, might be Cardinals history. I don't know. I haven't worked all that out. But join me for Cardinals and Coffee. Maybe I can get guests in for that time slot too. That'd be pretty cool. It seems to me like it's easier to get a player on during the day than it is in the evening because, especially like at 9 a.m. So join us for that. Like and subscribe. Aaron, is next Monday good for you?
At this time, it seems to be yes.
Yeah.
I know this week we ran into.
You don't have to share. It's
just like
stuff that happens.
Random little life stuff. But typically Mondays are going to be the days that will work better than most.
Right. And Mondays generally are, if they're going to have an off day, it's going to be on a Monday. So it's nice to not compete with a Cardinals game, but
right.
I mean, the Cardinals have been not great, so we actually got people in. They're like, I'm not watching this. I'm going to listen to people complain about them.
Right. And I'm super good at that, so
right.
Like it works out really well for everyone involved.
Yeah. So I'm super excited about this. Super excited to get going. Thank you guys for joining us, and hopefully the Cardinals get healthy and get going.
Yeah, that would be super cool.
All right. So that being said, I'm going to sign us off here, man. Again, thanks for joining us, guys.
Good. Yeah,
see you later.
Definitely check us back next week. Hopefully we'll have some better stuff to talk about.